Welcome to this week's episode of The Breakdown. I'm Mike.
And I'm Austin. We just want to first off thank everybody for watching our video this past week. We quadrupled our expectations on views, and we just want to thank everybody for the support that's been shown and the opportunity that's been given to us to keep doing what we love and keep doing our show. We're very thankful. Thank you again.
So, a new thing we're going to be doing from here on out is becoming the top 5. Now, this top 5, it can be anything from a performance this past week to a big signing. Anything big that happened in the sports world, it's going to be in our top 5 and how we feel is most important. So to start off, at number 5, for a lot of you guys, you might not know who this is, but Romelu Lukaku for Manchester United, who's the striker, had a huge week this past week for Manchester United. On Wednesday against Crystal Palace, he had 2 goals, including the goal that gave Manchester United a lead. And on Saturday's game against Southampton, in the 89th minute, Manchester United tied 2-2. Lukaku with the strike to win it 3-2 for his second goal of the game. Man, you ended up winning that game 3-2, and he's our number 5 player of the week in our top 5.
At number 4, as many of you know, if you don't know, this past weekend was the NFL Combine, where all the top draftees will be auditioning for a chance to play in the NFL. So at number 4, we're going to have DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. The guy dominated the draft combine, and we just want to highlight him. 40-yard dash, he ran a 4.3, which came in 3rd. Bench press, he was did 27 reps, and in the vertical, he did 40.5. That also came in 3rd. And not to mention his 1.6% of body fat. Look for him to be playing on Sundays this upcoming season.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that close to 1.6 body fat.
I would say you're about a 5.6.
I was going to say 15, but I'll allow it.
Oh, okay. At least somebody knows how to throw a flag in New Orleans. Anyways.
So at number 3, we have Karl Anthony Towns, who, my goodness, this dude had a monster week. This past Wednesday against the Hawks, he had 37 points, 18 rebounds. And then against the Pacers, backed it up with 42 points, 17 rebounds. And to close it out against the Wizards, 28 points, 7 assists, 10 rebounds. Dude had a monster week, especially from a guy coming off who was in a car accident 2 weeks ago. Dude's been balling like crazy since the All-Star break.
I like that one. That car accident probably set the fire off in him. Number 2, we're going to have Bryce Harper. Got to go with Bryce Harper in the Philadelphia Phillies. Big signing this past week. Anytime a top 5 player in any sport, really, in any pro sport, signs as a free agent contract with a new team, got to have it listed in our top 5.
Absolutely. And the number 1, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, how is a Bryce Harper signing not the number 1 thing? And that is because a record was set this past week by Trae Young, point guard of the Atlanta Hawks, who was the first ever rookie ever, all the great rookies you see in the past, to ever have more than 45 points and 15 assists in a game. He balled out against the Chicago Bulls with 49 points, 16 assists, and 8 rebounds. The dude was just a flat-out monster. Anytime you set an NBA record to that standard, that's going to be number 1 every week in our top 5.
Absolutely, man. I definitely agree. I can tell how excited you were about Trae Young this past week. Good things coming for the Atlanta Hawks in the future. So to start off our topics this week, like we mentioned in our top 5, Bryce Harper signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. It was a big deal. Probably one of the biggest free agent signings in a long time, and maybe one of the biggest free agent signings in MLB history. So I got to ask you, Mike, does Bryce Harper make the Philadelphia Phillies an immediate World Series contender?
Based off the other moves the Philadelphia Phillies made, yes. Now, say the Phillies this was the only move the Phillies made, going from the team they had last year, I would probably say no. Now, does he make them better? Absolutely. Anytime you add a top 5 player, your team instantly gets better. But based off the moves they made, acquiring Gene Segura from the Mariners, All-Star last year, acquired JT Realmuto, catcher from the Marlins, All-Star last year. Andrew McCutchen, who's been an All-Star in the past, is just a vet. You know what you're going to get from him. They signed him to a 3-year, $50 million deal. So you add Bryce Harper into that, and then you already have a superstar with Rhys Hoskins there going to be at first base. And then you have solid guys like Maikel Franco, Cesar Hernandez, Sky Kingery, Odubel Herrera in center field. And then you have Aaron Nola, who's going to be, for the next few years, probably in the Cy Young conversation from here for years to come. Right now, absolutely, they're a contender. They have so much talent. There's no reason someone wouldn't call them a contender right now.
Absolutely. Like you said, I definitely agree with all the points you made. They definitely become a contender with him. You add him to that lineup, they're going to be very dangerous. pitching is going to have to be huge in the NL East and really in all of the NL to compete with the Phillies this year. You look at the Atlanta Braves. Last year they won the division. It's going to be an uphill battle going against the Phillies this year. Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, all those guys are definitely have to step up, and the pitching staff is definitely have to step up. So you look at them, definitely a contender this year.
Yeah, a lot of every team I feel in the NL East, with the exception of the Marlins and the Nationals, obviously losing Bryce Harper, I feel got better. The Mets added a lot of pieces with Robinson Cano, Edwin Diaz from the Mariners.
Absolutely.
As well. So a lot of people, I feel like pitching in the NL East, it's gonna have to be huge this year if the team wants to come out of the NL East.
Most definitely, pitching to be huge.
Yeah, so it's kind of switching gears here. Kind of make our little predictions here. NBA regular season is coming close to an end. Ends next month. So I kind of want to get your right now prediction. Who do you feel is Rookie of the Year in the NBA?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this race is a lot closer than right now than it has been all season. It looked like Luka Doncic was running away with it, but man, Trae Young has come up from behind him. Like you said, mentioned him in the since the All-Star break. This guy's been on a mission. He's been dominant. He's been showing why he deserves to be in the conversation. But as of right now, I still have Luka winning the Rookie of the Year. He's averaging 21 points per game, almost 6 assists, 7 rebounds. The guy he's been consistent all year long and has Dallas pretty much overachieving really with the type of roster they have. So right now I got to go with Luka. But I do want to say this: Trae Young will be the best player from this draft in 5 years. You heard it here first from Austin Gabbard on the breakdown.
That's a bold prediction. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. Luka being how he is. But I kind of agree with you. 2 months ago, this was hands down. There was it was Luka, and that was pretty much it. There was no conversation. But the way Trae Young has played since the early January, he's kind of put himself in the conversation. Now, if the season ended today, I would still have Luka being Rookie of the Year. But Trae Young would definitely get votes. I mean, the dude's averaging 32 points and 10 assists since the All-Star break. Those are insane numbers. Now, granted, Luka hasn't been a scrub either. He's averaging 25, 8, and 6 since the All-Star break.
Right,
Those are great numbers as well. So, I agree. If the season ended today, I would still think it's Luka, but Trae Young is definitely he's made it a lot closer than it was a couple months ago.
I think Trae Young, you can make an argument right now that he's maybe a top 5 passer in the league.
Oh, I agree. If you watch his highlight tapes,
yes.
This dude makes incredible passes. If there was just better talent around Trae Young, I think he would lead the NBA in assists right now.
He probably would.
I really do, because the passing is the no look passes, the between the legs. He's so smooth when you watch him. The game just comes to him easily. I think you just put talent around him. Oh my God, he'll be a force for years to come.
I definitely agree.
Same with Luka. Same way you put.
Both players are gonna be good. Don't get me wrong. Both players are gonna be good.
If they put a team around Luka, if Porzingis comes back, which I think you don't trade for a guy like that. You're not expecting to keep him in free agency.
It just seems like Trae Young has that killer instinct, man. You don't really find a lot of guys in today's NBA that have that killer instinct, and that's why I have Trae Young as the best player from this draft. But definitely, don't get me wrong, Luka is definitely up there. He's a great player, and I mean no disrespect.
Right.
So switching up, going from Rookie of the Year, we're going to switch it over to Coach of the Year. So I got to ask you, Mike, a lot of teams this year taking the next step forward and being contenders, but only one guy can win the Coach of the Year. Who do you have as Coach of the Year right now?
Now, this might come as a surprise, and I know this probably will shock you. My Coach of the Year is Doc Rivers. Because, the Clippers, I feel, are definitely overachieving right now. They're the 8th seed in the East, built 7 games above 500. They just coming off a win against the Lakers where Patrick Beverley was all in LeBron's head. They're overachieving. They traded their best player in Tobias Harris to 76ers at the deadline. So everybody was thinking, okay, they're going in tank mode. They're trying to just go get a high pick. They've done the exact opposite. They have been hot ever since the All-Star break, even before the All-Star break. And I don't see them losing the 8th spot. They might even gain up to the 6th or 7th spot in the playoff race. So Doc Rivers, to me, the job he's done with his team, the best player right now is probably Lou Williams. And he has this team in prime and ready for the NBA playoffs, in my opinion. That's why I have him as my Coach of the Year.
Look, I respect Doc Rivers. I respect the job he's done with the Clippers. I think, like you said, they're definitely overachieving. They traded their best player away, Tobias Harris, and they've been striving since then. Like you said, you got Montrezl Harrell stepping up. I definitely like Doc Rivers. I think he could be a dark horse. But the guy I'm going to go with, and he's the guy I think that made the biggest difference to a team this year, and that's Mike Budenholzer for the Milwaukee Bucks. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they have a very talented team. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's probably, if not the best player, he's definitely top 2 or 3 in the NBA. He's my MVP, which you're going to talk about in a minute. But, look, you look at what the job that he has done. Last season, they had 44 wins. This year, they're at 48 wins already, and the year's not even over yet. They're the number 1 seed in the East. This guy, he did a great job in Atlanta when he was there. He has taken this team to the next level. They have gone from a good team with promising talent to a championship contender who have a shot at dethroning the Golden State Warriors. And you add in there the talent that they have. To me, you just have to go with him, and he's just the guy who's taking this team to the next level.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Mike Budenholzer's really taking the Bucks to another level, where before they were just like, we're just gonna make it to the playoffs, and they haven't been able to get past the first round. But basically, that was their mindset. Let's just get. But now, Mike Budenholzer's turned that team into a championship contender, and Giannis is.
You can even make the argument that maybe Giannis has taken a step forward from last season. Last season you saw what he could do, but you didn't see it consistently. This year you're seeing more of a leadership coming from Giannis and his play.
Yeah, I agree. So kind of going to the big award in the NBA, the one that everybody wants to know is, who do you have as your MVP, sir?
Well, like I just said, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's my MVP right now. Just the way he's played all season, he's averaging 27 points per game, 6 assists per game, while averaging almost 13 rebounds. The guy's consistent. The guy's a freak. His, the nickname is there for him, the Greek Freak. And he's everything of that. This guy, what he's done for this team from a leadership standpoint, if they did not have him in the lineup, they wouldn't be a playoff team in my opinion. This guy has taken it to the next level.
Yeah, for me it's Giannis as well, because like you said, the Bucks, not only do they have the best record in the East, they have the best record in the entire NBA. And that, when you have a situation like that, there's usually one guy that you look at and like, why that team is as good as they are, and that's Giannis. The dude's averaging 27 points a game, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. Those are insane numbers, and for a small forward.
Right.
Granted, he's like, power forward, so probably plays small forward. Giannis has just been, he was already a freak, now he's just a superstar freak. That's the level he's at right now, and like we were just saying, Giannis and Budenholzer, the way they both have, they've taken this team to another level, and this team is a championship contender now with the squad that they have going forward.
I definitely agree. But I definitely agree with him. He might be the best player in the NBA next year. This because of the way
the dude develops a jump shot.
Oh, he's
got a solid mid-range shot now. If he gets a 3-point shot that's consistent, oh my gosh.
The guy is so versatile. He can play every position on the floor. He plays point guard, he plays shooting guard, he plays small forward, he plays the 4, he plays the 5. This guy can do it all. You can have him in the game and he can run point guard for you. He can be a facilitator. He can run the offense. You can also have him in the game and he can be your leading rebounder and your leading scorer. The guy can do it all. And I think, I don't want to disrespect any of these other names, and I think they need to be mentioned because these guys are having great years too. I think Paul George is up there. I think you got to have James Harden in the conversation. And another guy I think who definitely deserves respect and has kind of been an underrated MVP candidate this year is Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets went from not making the playoffs last season to being the number 1 seed this year, they're not the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed right now in the Western Conference.
I agree. He's a dark horse candidate. He's played really well for the Nuggets, and he's a big reason why the Nuggets are playing as well as they are. So, yeah, I definitely agree, but I think we're both on the same page when we think Giannis is the MVP of the season and today.
Definitely Giannis.
But kind of moving on, but staying with the same NBA, a team I kind of want to talk about who, ever since the All-Star break, has kind of struggled a little bit is the Boston Celtics. Kind of going on a little skid here, being 1-5 since the All-Star break after being hot there a little bit in January. What do you think? What's going on in Boston? What's your opinion?
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I think's going on with Boston. I think they're suffering from the same thing the Los Angeles Lakers are suffering from. The Anthony Davis trade has swept the league and has caused a lot of rift with these organizations. The same thing happened to the Lakers. Look, the Lakers made an offer for Anthony Davis. The Pelicans turned it down. The pretty much foregone conclusion is that the Pelicans are going to trade Anthony Davis to the Boston Celtics in the offseason for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and maybe some type of package, including those young players, but some type of package around them.
Right.
So those guys know at the end of this season they're getting traded. So why would you come into work every day knowing that you're not going to be there much longer? You're not going to be there. You're not part of the future. You're not going to be there past this season. So why, if they don't believe in you, why should you believe in them? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all those guys, they're the guys that have been struggling lately. And you look at some of the things that have been going on in the media as well, with Kyrie Irving saying stuff and Marcus Morris saying stuff. I just think it's in these young guys' head that, hey, we not wanted here, why should we play at our best?
See, I don't know if that's all the reason for them. Now for the Lakers, I feel that was definitely 100% the reason for their struggle. For the young guys, they were just thinking LeBron just doesn't want us to be here. And Boston, I don't know, It seems like their just heads not in it with some games. Now, granted, I mean, that might be it, but I just feel like they just seem unnerved. They seem like they're not having fun together like they were earlier in the year. Like I said, and they had that run from about the middle of January to early February where they were 10-1. This was literally only about a month and a half ago where they got hot like this. So you know it's in there. It's in there where this team can be great. From a talent standpoint, they're probably the most talented team in the Eastern Conference from a talent standpoint. But one of the things that's kind of like noticeable is, when Kyrie's on the floor, they average 3 fewer assists. And I think a lot of that gets to their head. So when they get the ball, like when Jason Tatum gets the ball, he feels, all right, I don't get the ball that often. I need to make something happen. They just need to let the game come to them. And this is how I feel. Yes, they're struggling. They're 5th in the East. But now, from a record standpoint, they play better, it seems like, without Kyrie. But if they want to win a championship, they need Kyrie. They need that guy to make the tough shots when it counts in the playoffs.
I agree with you. Look, if you're looking from a record standpoint, they're better with Kyrie off the floor. They're 1-5 since the All-Star break with Kyrie. They're 6-0, during a span without Kyrie on the floor. Look, Kyrie, he's the best player on that team. Like you said, they need Kyrie come playoff time. You need guys that are going to be ball dominant. You need guys that are going to take big shots. And you need guys that are going to make those big shots. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they're the flow of the offense type of players right now. They have to, play in the flow of the offense and play what they can do. They have certain things to do. Jason Tatum, he's a catch and shoot, catch and drive. He's not going to be ball dominant for a whole game. Same thing with Jaylen Brown. Kyrie Irving, though, you need that type of mentality where he can just take over games, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever. So we're going to see what happens going forward, but I feel like Kyrie, he just needs to lead this team. You won a championship. Lead this team and show them how you get it done.
I think he needs to lead by example, too. Not by coming to the media and attacking these young guys. Some guys respond to different things, and I think he needs to lead by example. So moving on to some NFL news, Antonio Brown, as you may know, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. He has requested a trade, does not want to be in Pittsburgh any longer. My question to you, Mike, is has Antonio Brown handled this trade request properly?
I feel he could have handled it so much better than he has. And part of me thinks, I don't think he realized how good he had it in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a really good team and a really good offense. Not many guys from a receiver standpoint can say that they played with a Hall of Fame quarterback. And Larry Fitzgerald made that comment earlier this week saying how, Antonio Brown, I mean, if he gets traded, there's no guarantee that you're going to have a good quarterback if you get traded. They're going to trade you to whoever offers the best offer for you. So there's no guarantee that you're going to have a quarterback that's up to par with Ben Roethlisberger.
Right, and I totally agree with you. Like you said, with the Larry Fitzgerald thing. Look, this guy, he wasn't a big time, guy coming out of college. He wasn't, gifted physically. This guy, he's just worked hard and got to where he's gotten just because of the system. You know what I'm saying? You don't know if he can do this with another team. Big Ben Roethlisberger has been his quarterback his entire career. He is the only quarterback who Antonio Brown has caught a touchdown pass from. So if this guy goes to another team, there's no guarantee that he's going to put up the same numbers and be the same production. A guy like Julio Jones, a guy like Odell Beckham, they're physically gifted. They're big, they're strong, they're athletic freaks. They can go anywhere in the league and put up the same numbers that they're putting up. They're going to out-athletic you during the game. Antonio Brown, though, I just don't know. And I'm not saying he can't. I just don't know whether he can do it or not. You know what I'm saying?
So, as y'all just heard, that was our 2-minute warning, which means our show's coming close to an end. So a new segment that we're going to be doing is, after the 2-minute warning, we'll be answering a fan question that's been sent in to us. So the fan question for this week is coming from Gary Cahill, and it is, if you had to start a franchise with a quarterback from this year's draft, who would it be?
This year's draft is really lacking in quarterbacks. I want to thank Gary for the question, of course. But like I said, this year's quarterback draft is not really good. It's not really strong. But if I had one guy who stands out above the rest, it's got to be Dwayne Haskins. The guy's body of work in college is remarkable. He was the leading passer in the Big 12 this year. Had a great season. Big 10 this year. He had a great season. Led Ohio State to an unbelievable season with the way he led the team. He had great passing numbers. He's accurate. He can throw the ball down the field. He's mobile. Even though he's not a running quarterback, he is still mobile. He can move around the pocket to avoid pressures and make the quick decision. I think he's going to be the quarterback that you look at in the next couple of years as the best quarterback from this draft.
See, I agree. Everybody's talking about Kyler Murray, and I'm not saying the dude doesn't have talent, but for me, I just feel Dwayne Haskins, out of this group that we see, has the best potential. If he goes to the right spot, and 5 years from now, we would say that he is the best quarterback out of this draft class who you want to build a franchise around. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It kind of seems like the consensus is that Kyler Murray is going to be drafted number 1 overall by Arizona. So obviously, a team like is gonna be whether it be the Giants, who maybe like draft Haskins to
I think
back out
Giants,
Eli.
yeah.
It gives you maybe like the Jaguars, who draft him, and hopefully like he'll be the future of that team. So it's gonna be kind of interesting to see. I mean, you have guys like you have Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Will Grier. So I mean, yeah, out of that, like some of those guys have potential, but for me, like you said, I think Dwayne Haskins is the quarterback.
I feel like for Kyler Murray, it's too big of a risk. It's too risky. The guy is unproven. That's our buzzer, but let me finish what I have to say real quick. I know those guys. He's unproven. He's only had one good year of success, which you can make the same argument for Dwayne Haskins, but Kyler Murray was at Texas A&M and didn't have the same success that he had at Oklahoma. So maybe it's a Lincoln Riley thing. I think it's too big of a risk. I like the Giants at 7 to pick Dwayne Haskins.
It's going to be interesting to see. We're definitely going to see. So we want to thank everybody for listening to this week's show, The Breakdown. That was our buzzer, as you heard, so that means our time is up. We really hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.